Hi, and welcome back to 10 Kids, 2 Docs, Parenting Insights from Pediatrician Moms. I'm Dr. Sylvia Bank.
And I'm Dr. Vivian Carlin. Welcome back.
Welcome back. We are marking our 20th episode today.
Nice. Yeah.
And as is going to be a tradition, we are doing a recap and a look forward in every 10 episodes that we do. So I'm excited about today's recap and look forward.
Okay, sounds good. Let's jump in.
Welcome to the 10 Kids, 2 Docs podcast. Seasoned pediatricians and longtime friends, Sylvia Bank and Vivian Carlin have counseled thousands of parents and are raising 4 and 6 kids, respectively. Join these doctor moms as they incorporate fun and their combined wisdom and experience to share parenting insights for anyone looking for practical and trustworthy guidance. Please note that this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment from your doctor.
So, looking back at our last 9 episodes, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about the topics that we've recently covered?
Oh, I have a bunch of thoughts. Let's see. Just for recap, we talked about infant sleep schedules and babies sleeping through the night. We talked about screens with school-age content, how to control content for your child. We talked about college applications and Ivy Day. And then we did a whole series on gentle parenting, tantruming, yelling at your kids, all of that. I have a lot of follow-up that I could say. I think the one that I'll tell first is on school-age screen content.
Okay.
And if you remember, I talked about this idea of wanting to be able to hand my kids a device or a remote to a TV and know that they were watching something that I approved, and that I felt like the only way I could do that was to have like a old school DVD player where I knew specifically all the things that they could watch. We had to be logged out of Netflix, et cetera, or hand them a tablet that did not remember our Wi-Fi.
Right.
Okay. Well, this is not a funny story. This is a serious story. It's just the state of the world today. Well, we were traveling, and when you're traveling at a hotel or an Airbnb or VRBO, the Wi-Fi password is posted everywhere.
Yeah, like
right?
in the kitchen, like they'll have a little frame or something on the fridge that says Wi-Fi password XYZ, right?
Yes. So we were traveling, and my youngest asked his older brother to put in the password for his iPad to have some time, which the older child knows the password. And he did. So it wasn't on my radar that my youngest had the iPad. I wasn't even thinking about it. And it wasn't wrong for my older son to give him time. That was totally fine. He had earned it. But it didn't even cross my mind because the Wi-Fi password was posted everywhere. He got onto the Wi-Fi. Yeah. And then he was, on YouTube, which is what everybody wants to do if they have access to the Wi-Fi.
And as I said in the episode, I don't have a problem with YouTube. It's more just that YouTube can lead to endless, mindless watching of frankly junk, right? There is good content, but there's a lot of junk. Well, anyway, at some point he gets off of YouTube and goes to the internet browser.
And he brought me the iPad because he had just been searching something. I mean, it was fairly innocent. It was like words that he had heard at school. And what came up was pornography.
Really?
Yes, because not only were we now in a new environment where the Wi-Fi is posted,
right?
We're in a house where there's no
restrictions.
Yes,
right? There's no parental controls.
There's no parental controls, but there's also no whatever it is you put on your router so that all explicit content is blocked.
Oh,
you know how you can
do a filter.
That? Yeah. I guess it's no filter.
Right.
But you know how if I know your house is the same. If you hop onto my Wi-Fi and if I tried to look for pornography, I could not get to it. Right. It's all blocked. But not only I failed on 2 counts. Not only did I forget that the Wi-Fi password was posted everywhere, but it didn't even cross my mind. We are now on a unfiltered, unblocked Wi-Fi where there's access to anything. And it also was just made the point of how incredibly easy it is to get to it. Yeah. It's not like he searched pornography or any explicit words. It literally was was quasi-innocent, curiosity, put something in and bam, right there. That is how incredibly easy it is for our kids to get there. And here I am, I just did this episode preaching on how to limit content in school-age kids. And I think I made it clear in that episode, when I talked about the weevils, go back and listen if you haven't. I can be trying to limit content as much as possible, But in this day and age, it's so much easier said than done. And they just are getting bombarded with it.
Right.
And, this is just in my house. We can have a whole nother discussion about what they're exposed to at school.
Right.
So I feel like I do want to do a separate episode sometime on pornography, but that was just to make the point of how incredibly hard it is, even in a conscientious household, to really controlling the content.
Yeah. And I think these sharing stories is a good thing to just make parents aware and alert that these things could happen. This is a situation that could happen to any of us when we're on vacation, right?
Yeah.
And to kind of be mindful of these types of things, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think an episode that has probably had the most traffic was Bedwetting.
Yes. Surprisingly popular.
Yeah. And I went back and listened to it. And later, as I've really thought about it, I mean, man, I think one of my bedwetters was probably 10, 11. Like, I'm not sure I said that. Like, we were dealing with bedwetting for a long time.
I also feel like one of the reasons why bedwetting wound up being very popular is because there's kind of shame involved with people who have bedwetted, beyond, early elementary.
Oh, yes.
And, people are kind of searching that and kind of looking for advice and tips or, a community maybe even about bedwetting. And I think that kind of shows how the podcast and what we're doing with some topics is much needed. Right?
I hope so. I hate for people to feel shamed about that. I mean, I mentioned camp, and many of my kids have been, or 3 of my children have been camp counselors. And they know, like, when they do their counselor training for overnight camp, they're all taught to watch for bedwetting just because it's so common. It's so common.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, hopefully our episode helps reach people, out there that might want more information or feeling a little bit embarrassed about bedwetting themselves or their children bedwetting, right?
Yeah, I think something else in this last 10 weeks that my eyes were really open to is that anytime we do an episode on some type of trend in parenting, like gentle parenting, little preview, we have baby-led weaning coming up as well. There is so much information out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not even in the phase where I'm actively, as a parent, looking for information on these topics because I've already kind of set my own patterns and what I'm doing. And I even feel overwhelmed, even just trying to define these things because there's so much noise and so much information. I know in the gentle parenting episode, we really tried to go straight to the words of the person who first coined the term, because otherwise we could get so diluted as to what it even means because there's so many opinions out there. And I can appreciate how to a young parent, it would be so overwhelming.
Right. And to kind of even know what the technique is based on a 30-second TikTok, right?
Yeah.
It can be very difficult. And it does require, for the listeners, quite a bit of effort and research on our part to weed through, the thick and figure out what is this technique? What is it actually saying?
Yes.
And what do we think about that?
Right.
As opposed to a 30-second TikTok, what we think about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there is a large role, I think, for as parents are getting bombarded with these hot new topics in parenting, whether or not it's discipline or sleep or feeding or whatever. I think this is part of the role that I see us filling in researching, figuring out exactly what is this technique saying, and then our thoughts on that technique.
Right. Well, and also like reminding, it can be as simple as just, okay, here's our thoughts in 20 minutes. You actually don't need to know anything else.
It's a hot take for the quick parent who is really busy. Here's the summary, right?
Yes. Which actually I find as we do these episodes, I appreciate that a lot of my parenting choices personally are aimed for efficiency.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm going to do something that requires a lot of research and training, I'm probably not going to do it.
Right. We are pretty much the Cliff Notes, Spark Notes on these parenting techniques. And we put in the effort to investigate, condense and give our thoughts.
Yeah. And that would really appeal to me as a parent if I didn't have my pediatric background, which has caused me to be very informed, but it would really appeal to me as a parent because I like to do things in life very efficiently.
Me too.
I know you have a few more stories to tell, but let's also take a look ahead in the second half as to what we have coming down the pipeline. And give our listeners a little preview as to what's on our mind for topics that we are really excited to cover.
Reflecting on our parenting when we do these episodes, I learn more about you. Right? And details about and stories about you and your kids that I didn't know before we did this topic, right?
Oh, yes. I totally feel the same.
For me, I think that the story that I laughed the most about and that illustrates your family very well in my mind is the crying at Disney story.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes,
because
yes.
I think that kind of like encapsulates. It wasn't a surprise, but I can almost visualize your family and your family dynamic when you're storytelling about that story, right?
Yes. That there's the child that's crying,
right.
That there are the children that actually think this is hysterical,
right.
that the woman is calling out my husband, that there's my husband who is totally unbothered by this, and that there's me who's horrified at the attention that's being drawn
and
to
then
us.
running to the bathroom with your 5-year-old, right?
You can see all of the dynamics.
Yes, and I know each individual person in your family and can see, and in my mind's eye, picture that scenario perfectly, right?
Yes. Actually, we didn't have time to mention this in the episode, but I did work at Disney World for a while on their college program. Fun, feels like another lifetime ago for sure. But I would love to have a discussion sometime on the pros and cons of doing a Disney family vacation. Because I love to tell people Disney is a great place to work, to vacation, not so much.
And I should say, I have a lot of Disney experience too as well, because I had relatives that lived in the Orlando area. And every Christmas, every single one, we would drive down to Florida. I could talk about Disney.
Yeah, maybe we should do that. Although I don't know that Disney would like our thoughts on Disney.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not anti-Disney, but I'm cautionary about a Disney vacation.
It's different now than it used to be. Let's say
that's true. That's true. Okay, I will say, we did the episode on college applications in Ivy Day. And right after we released that, my mom, who is one of our faithful listeners, I know your mom is listening too. I love that. She pointed out to me that she heard on the nightly news that the class of 2025 is the largest and most diverse graduating high school class in U.S. history.
Really?
With 3.9 million graduates, which led to increased competition for college admissions. And I know my experience with my senior, you've said the same thing, Sylvia, is that every college acceptance she has gotten has come with the description of this was by far our largest group of qualified applicants.
Right.
Yeah.
And during the Admitted Students Day, it was even more of a congratulations for your admittance.
Yes,
right?
yes. So
because it was even harder this year.
Yes.
Right?
I will say, though, I also learned from researching and doing that episode that the fertility rate did decline in correspondence to the recession. So the high in 2007, it declined progressively after that. So there is some thought that might actually ease some of the college application stress, because we should be hitting the years now that those birth years represent graduating classes.
Right. I guess we'll see moving forward with our future children, right, applying to college, because it is not over yet for you or me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. Now, as the parent, we are approaching the rip the Band-Aid off of sending them off, which is another episode we need to do.
And I both, right?
Yeah, we need to do the parenting the young adult. I mean, that's a whole season of episodes,
right?
Which is not as applicable to our listeners who are trying to figure out if they're going to baby-led wean their 6-month-old.
Right. So something exciting that has happened for 10 Kids, 2 Docs.
Oh, yes.
Is that we have launched our marketing arm.
Oh, gosh, we're so bad at this. We're trying really hard.
10 Kids, 2 Docs had a presence at the Primary Care Symposium for providers at Johns Hopkins and the University of Maryland. They have a one-day conference for primary care providers at the Primary Care Symposium.
Yes, this was new and exciting for you and I do appreciate it when other physicians, and I also say that to other pediatric groups who have reposted us or have promoted us, give us their vote of confidence.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I will say, I mean, I feel like what's cool about doing this with you is that we are both really motivated just by wanting to help people, right? This isn't monetized. Genuinely is just a desire to help people and seeing this is our niche of where we can most help young parents these days.
Yeah, and it also, as an added benefit, helps providers.
Yeah.
Where if their time is running out for the well visit, they've addressed, medical concerns for the last 20, 30 minutes, and the parent 1 foot out the door is like, oh, I have a question about bedwetting. Hopefully this is a resource for providers to say, we ran out of time today. Point us to the podcast.
Yes.
And maybe that'll start addressing some of your concerns. And then if it doesn't, make a follow-up appointment.
Yes. Right. Here's the 20-minute talk I wish I could give you that I don't have time for.
Yes.
Because
I have a waiting room full of patients waiting for me.
Yeah. So Sylvia, do you want to take a minute just to kind of preview what we envision coming up?
Sure. I see us, first of all, I felt like our series on the gentle parent and the 2 spinoff topics on discipline from that
tantruming and yelling at your kids
was honestly some of our best episodes yet.
Oh, it was. I thought it was good too.
Yeah, in my opinion, I'm really feeling like we are really kind of reaching a root of a lot of parental stress, right?
Yes. Well, any episode that we do that gets me really thinking on my own, like I find myself falling asleep at night thinking about some of these tenets, then I'm like, oh, I know this is a good topic.
One. Yeah. And I'm also super excited because in this next set, we are going to broaden our topics by introducing guest speakers, additional interviewees, right?
Yeah, I'm excited to start getting our feet wet with that too. We've had people reach out to us. We have people in mind who would be just fabulous in telling us their stories as physicians and what they've done with their kids in particular topics. So I look forward to that too.
And it gives other people the opportunity to join in on our sense and mission to help people.
Yes, absolutely. I see coming up ahead. I'd like to do a first one on safety. We haven't really done that yet.
Yeah.
I think it would probably be drowning prevention and swim lessons. I have a lot of thoughts on that. A lot of, just personal experience in how I've taught my children to swim.
Especially with the summer coming up, right?
Yeah.
That's a good topic for that.
Although I do see trampolines come up again and again and again on social media polling. So at some point we will do trampolines, and I look forward to that too.
Right.
And then teens, you and I have a lot on our mind with teens. So I look forward to doing some teen episodes coming up as well.
Right. And then lastly, screens.
Oh, we have to go back to
never
screens.
Ending.
It does never end.
And it's, as we said before, ever evolving and changing, tackling other topics on screens, other age groups, and our recommendations on how we can weather this together, right?
Yeah, really. Yes, the nemesis for all of us right now. I mentioned pornography already in this episode. I mean, I hate to even think about trying to tackle that one. That could be a whole series as well. Just how much it's changed and evolving so quickly.
I do want to take a moment again to thank our listeners.
Yes.
Our numbers, and I'm not a data analysis kind of person, but I do kind of track our numbers and they creep up every day. Our old episodes are still being revisited.
Yes, yeah.
So I do want to thank our fans for tuning in, to listening, giving us feedback if you feel like it. This is why we're doing this, is for our listeners.
I really love it when people reach out to me anonymously, or people I know who say things like, I really find myself thinking about what you said when you said this. Like it's meaningful to me to know that we are able to impact people in a way that it causes them to just reflect on their parenting in a way they hadn't thought about before. And I love that.
I also encounter in my office setting, someone will say, oh, I listened to your podcast. And it sparks a separate conversation as we're all providers, and many of us are parents as well, to the topic that we addressed on the podcast.
Yes, so I love that.
I hope that our podcast is perpetuating continued discussion amongst other groups. So any type of feedback I would love to hear.
Yes.
Please reach out to us either on our social media platforms, or we have a feedback email.
Yes, you can find that on our website, which is 10kids2docs.com, which also will give you links to all of our social media accounts as well as the listening platforms.
Thank you so much for the last 20 weeks. We look forward to our next 20 weeks. This is 10 Kids, 2 Docs. I'm Dr. Sylvia Bank.
And I'm Dr. Vivian Carlin. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you for listening to 10 Kids, 2 Docs, hosted and created by Sylvia Bank and Vivian Carlin. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and recommend our podcast to other listeners. Visit our website at 10kids2docs.com, where you can find links to social media and leave comments or suggestions. Back next week with more topics in parenting.